What a great crowd. How is everybody? Good. It's the afternoon. We're still cooking? Good. Where are my scientists? Excellent. Where are my engineers? My students? Those who have no idea what I'm talking about? Everybody. Excellent. GS -5. I love it. Well, first of all, welcome. Before I give you some tools that you can use to become much more successful today, free tools, free is good, I'd like to take you back in time to a bygone era, a time of simplicity, some little bit of nostalgia. Do you remember back when we were rocket scientists? Do you remember back when we were computer programmers? When we were marketers, financiers? Because while our collective knowledge has just exploded exponentially, the era of the generalist has passed. And the era of the specialist has begun. We're no longer rocket scientists, are we? We're propulsion engineers. We're materials research scientists. We're not computer programmers. We're mobile app developers and embedded systems architects. Marketers and financiers, are you kidding me? We're social media experts and quants. The depth and breadth of every discipline has gotten so wide and so deep, we can't know everything that we'd like to know. I know I would like to, but my head is only this big. And some of yours have bigger, smaller, but still, at the end of the day, it's the same amount of data. Some more than others. But we still can't have all we'd like as much as we'd want to. So we specialize. We can't help but specialize, and that's great. And why is that great? You've been hearing, and you know, we face a lot of big challenges. Challenges that affect us individually, as families, in our teams, our organizations, companies, and agencies. We have big challenges, and the challenges are complex. As much as we like to say there are simple answers, and occasionally in D.C. you would think from listening to politics that all the answers are simple, but they're not. Otherwise, everything would be solved. So what do? We specialize and we get really good at something. But with every new era, if this is the era of the specialist, and we're going to solve the big problems with the breadth and depth of experience that only a specialist can bring, what's formed from that? Microcultures. Microcultures is something I'm a big believer in. No matter what your passion is, what your love is, what your education is, we tend to wrap ourselves in a small culture that reflects that. And it starts early. For my techno people, my science people, it starts really early. For me, it was computers. In junior high school, I fell in love with computers, hung out with all the other computer kids. We had our own humor, our own thought processes, our own ways of solving problems, our own social norms, humor, even language. It was a whole culture just around computers. And that is really some challenge because with complex problems, we need to bring together lots of specialists, don't we? I say there's no organization here, if you're watching on video, your organization, that doesn't need a mixture of specialists. But hyper-specialization, specialization creates these microcultures. And when you bring really smart people like you all together, sometimes would you agree, there's sometimes some differences? Yeah, I see lots of nodding. No one's saying out loud, oh, no, I get along with everyone, Barry. It's because we think differently, and we think about our own work. Let me give you an example of a I'll say it's a big challenge, a macro challenge I had. She mentioned that I had worked on cyber terrorism. This was a word that didn't even exist. It was back in the 80s. I was looking at the impact of technology on society and government and business like a lot of people do. And I saw this sort of coming together of the internet, which was sort of establishing itself, and something called SCADA systems, or these automated process control systems. And I realized that at some point, terrorists would be able to use our own technology against us to do physical damage and kill people, the way things were going, and something had to be done. So after a little bit of studying, eventually something had to be done. So the government had to bring together people. So who did we have to bring in? We had computer security professionals from the private sector, computer security professionals from the public sector, two very different microcultures. Then we had to bring in, for example, the counterterrorism people and the anti-terrorism people. Two very different cultures. Could they be more different than the computer security people? Then we had, of course, policy people and administrative people and legal people and law enforcement people, all really smart, knew their own stuff, very strong microcultures that were very different. If you got them all in a room, as you may have known, we end up just kind of staring at each other. What are we going to do? I'm sure we've all had meetings like that where you're all like, Bob doesn't know anything. Why is he here? And Bob's probably very bright, but he probably does fluid dynamics, and you're an electrical engineer, so, fluid dynamics, those rascals. You know who you are. So, through trial by fire and lots of error, I came up with a system that the goal was to bring all these people together so they would at least understand the issues, because at the end of the day, something had to be done. And I'm very glad that, there's a lot in the papers now. I'm talking 10, 15 years ago when things were first starting. Now we're starting to hear some more challenges, but basically I think we've been good so far because a lot of people made a lot of smart decisions and a lot of work was done. So what is this system? If I could give you a system right now that would help your scientists, your engineers, your suits, and everyone kind of get along together and understand each other and create an action plan and have some real outcome, would that be useful? Yeah, I would hope. So, first step is fusion. Now, these are my words, and you can use the words you like, but this is what works for me. Fusion is both a process and an outcome. Fusion is basically building an understanding of the person in the next cubicle, the other person on the team. Usually you just get like, this is Bob, and he does this, and this is his title, and this is his experience. Go work. Now, those are just labels. That means nothing. You need to really understand where the person's coming from. For my computer science people, they had to say, okay, the people dealing with terrorism deal with life and death every day. That's a different mindset that I have, so I need to be thinking when he talks, or she talks, this is what they're thinking. For the computer security people, they're barraged constantly. It isn't like, there was a bomb yesterday. It is 24/7, but it's not life and death. So the counterterrorism and anti-terrorism people had to understand these people think differently too. So that's what fusion is. Fusion is a process of really, if you can get your head around that other person's perspectives, you could be infinitely more successful, and we never take the time to do it. A lot of the steps I'm going to give you today, I'm also talking to your managers and the leaders out there and executives and CEOs to understand you got to give your people some space and time to understand the people they're working with. If you throw them together, you're going to wonder why they're not efficient. You're going to bring the brightest people, and I have some of the brightest people in the world right here and watching us on video together in a room until they understand and kind of grok each other. It's not going to work. So that's a people element. Also, diffusion. Diffusion is sort of the process of going through and spreading information. As specialists, you cannot hoard information. If I'm, again, the electrical engineer, and I say, well, why does the fluids guy, have to have that information? More than once, and I'd say virtually every time in the 25 years I've been doing this, in every organization, every agency, every company, when people share information, even if they don't get it, another specialist doesn't understand your stuff, they'll still say to you, well, some question that asks you, and all of a sudden you come out with an idea, based on that question, which, by the way, may have been inane, but they just had no idea. As I say, there's no bad questions. There's dumb questions, but they're great because they may pique your mind. And answers come from questions because it breaks out of the proximity problem, the problem of being so close to the information. I also want to give you the 5 R's of group composite comprehension, and I call composite teams of multiple disciplines, bringing them all together, a group of those. The first one is called relating. Relating comes once you've done some fusion work. And these aren't all buzzwords. If you think about it, I'm just trying to put labels so you understand sort of the process you have to go through. If I know that you're a astronomical person, and I'm a person who worries about like parts and mechanical things, if I get a handle on what it is how you think, I can express my ideas to you in terms you understand. We all do this. As researchers, scientists, engineers, business people, we talk on our own terms. Have you ever been out with marketing people or salespeople? They talk like salespeople. And if you bring salespeople and engineers together, it can be frustrating. So relating is really important. In other words, I know this is a little more work to do, but it's so worth it because you'll get your stuff done. You'll get your points across. Instead of just thinking, he's Bob. Think like, Bob, I know how Bob thinks, what's important to him, I can express in those terms. The next topic is raising. When you get a group of people together, one of the things I found is really good is to take things up to that 10,000-foot level. Now, NASA people, I know, you're thinking 10,000 feet? But you get the concept. Raising is really high. Show it at a high level. People can see that big picture if they're looking down or looking up, whichever side you're on, and say, I get the greater picture. Start with that. Too often in tech groups, they don't do that. Reducing, once you've raised it, bring it down, bring it into small pieces. Pieces that are manageable, pieces that are edible. I can understand this little chunk, a modular approach to understanding. Please, you're all brilliant. You are, I know, or you wouldn't be here. Well, if you were smart, you would have left before me. But you are brilliant. and it's just, not everyone digests the same information the same way. If someone came and spoke to me about, propulsion science, my jaw will be drooling and my eyes will be off to the side and trying to get a handle around it because it's not my specialty, but I can probably outbite that person, BYTE. Replacing is very important. Technical jargon is the fastest way to get to MIGO, which stands for my eyes glaze over. You'll see that in management often because it's just too much. When you have a composite group of different kinds of scientists, engineers, business people, it's helpful to replace technical jargon with metaphors. I love nanotechnology because where I live out near the Research Triangle area in North Carolina, there's a lot of talk about nanotechnology and medical, and you get the investors, I'll kick it in, but I really don't understand what it means. Well, I basically say, well, imagine, and I'm obviously really working this. I say, imagine millions of little robots in your body going through your blood and taking care of all your physical ailments. Okay, that's a nice metaphor. You can get into large allegorical discussions with, battle bots going through your body, and you can really blow it up depending on what you need to do. But the point is just replace some of that jargon. It's so easy. We grow up with it. In our microcultures, we speak those languages that are just enveloped in these technical terms, and we can move aside and get past those. Review, it's a constant process, folks. I can't tell you enough how important it is to keep going. Everyone familiar with Entropy? If you have a teenager, their room cleaning is Entropy. So that's a great example. Entropy happens in working groups. I'm sure you've all seen it. You've been on it for a while, and it just starts to break down. You lose speed, and we fall back. I mean, how many management terms and books have you looked at or heard the latest trend is this, and this is the solution, and that's the solution, and then there's a name on it, and they're all good, but what happens is people do it for about a week, and then it fades off. You got to stick with it. I know it's more work, but I promise you, for every team leader, for every team player, it's absolutely vital. The couple quick things I want to wrap with, because I'm going to run over, because I think I actually lost a minute or so when I started, was you need to connect outside your organization. You have all these great specialists. All of you have your specialties, but I guarantee we cannot solve every big challenge there is just with the people in this room or just with the people on your team. You cannot be afraid. You have to be brave. And I'm going to say you need to reach outside your organization and find specialists wherever they are. Whatever company they're in, you need to find them. And I propose that you be brave, and not only just do that, I propose we set aside, every manager in here, every team leader, every executive, every CEO, I submit that you allow your people a few hours here and there, weeks, a month, whatever, to work on outside projects that matter. You have specialists, you have brilliance inside your house that can do something, accomplish something that needs to get done. Set aside just a few hours. Find out what the project is first. If it's a good fit, allow them to do it in the same way you're going to seek out people to do it for you. And lastly, I'm going to challenge you, every one of you. There is not a dumb person in this audience. I challenge you to make yourself visible for people to find you. And I'm not talking about your resumes. Scientists, engineers, technical people, you're not good at bragging. You're not. But I submit that you put yourself out there. People could find out what you know, your experiences, the problems you can solve. Let people find you for those really amazing challenges. When you come knock on your door and say, Lisa, would you be interested in doing this? You can take this to your manager who maybe give you some time to work on that. And you just build up your experience, because I will tell you right now, the future is going to be owned by those people and those organizations that know there are no boundaries. There are no boundaries in this world. And likewise, to solve problems, use those tools I've told you, and remember this, that the future of the human universe depends on one thing: you. Simple as that. Thank you very much.